If this is your first time watching the channel, then I need to give you a quick backstory on what this car is all about. This was the first car I had after passing my test, before I decided to let my brother borrow it to take it to work one day, and this was the result. The car got rear-ended at a roundabout, and the insurance deemed it as a write-off. So what I did was, I used the money from the insurance to rebuild the car, put it back on the road, and then use the excess money to start modifying it. So I've been documenting my process as I just learn a lot more about cars and how I've been modifying my Fiesta and learning along the way. More recently on this journey, I've made some huge improvements on how much I know about cars, as I recently changed the clutch on my Fiesta. Now this was no easy job, as I had no knowledge going into it, and it's a really good video. If you want to check it out, click the card in the top right now to see me change my first ever clutch. Since the clutch, I also fixed some issues with the front suspension, and so now the car is driving a lot better, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So that brings us to today's video, where I'm going to be doing 4 different things to try and get this Fiesta a little bit more ready before I start thrashing it around on a track. So those 4 mystery things I'm going to be doing throughout the video, so make sure you watch the whole video so you don't miss any of them coming up. First up on the list is to give the Fiesta a much needed service. It was actually a year ago now that I did my first ever service on a car, and that was the Fiesta, which I did a video on here on the channel. Hopefully I can remember what I did so we can do it again and get the Fiesta running tip top. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is service the car. Now I've got this here to service the car, some oil, an oil filter and some spark plugs. This is where a gust of wind nearly ruined my day.
It's shooting out like that. There we go.
So using the handy tool I bought last time I did the service, I'm taking the oil filter off of the car, but why I didn't wear my gloves, I don't know. Right, now it's time to get the new oil filter onto the car. So I've still got to top up the new oil and change the spark plugs, but we'll do that when the car's on the ground. For now, I want to move on to the next exciting modification for this car, which is going to be some uprated discs and pads for the front brakes. Okay, so to change the brake pads and discs, I've had to jack it up, take the wheel off, and you can see I've turned the whole hub to face me. So what I'm going to do is take this off, and then I can get access to the pads and eventually the disc. Okay, so first things first, I got to remove the caliper so that I can get to the brake pads themselves. Just give it a wiggle and off it comes. While I'm here, I'm just going to check all of the housing and make sure there's no cracks and anything. Just make sure it's all still in good working order. And now we can get the pads out. I can't lie, I've never actually seen brake pads before of what they should look like. Now to me it looks like there's a lot of meat on the pad left, but it looks to have this kind of metallic colour, so whether it's been fully worn away or not, I can't quite tell, but I'm changing them anyway, regardless. With the pads out, I can now remove the rest of the caliper housing. Now to do the same on the other side of the car. Now annoyingly, the footage of me taking the old discs out corrupted, so it looks like it was filmed on a potato. But more or less, I had to just easily get this one out, but the other side was a real pain in the ass, and I had to basically smack it with a hammer a good couple times, and eventually it broke loose. Now, I've got a sneaking feeling the reason that this disc came off so easily was because I did this in a previous video. But with the discs both off now, I can just clean up a bit of that surface rust before putting the new disc onto the car. Okay, so I've cleaned up the other side and I've put the disc brake onto the car to see what it would look like, see if it would fit. And my God, look at this thing. Look how cool that looks. You can see all the holes and stuff. But yeah, I'm actually so gassed. That looks so good. So definitely an upgrade. Even if it's just looks wise, it does just look so much cooler. So I'm very happy with that so far. Right, let's get the rest of it fitted and see what it looks like when it's all done. Now, in order to get the new brake pads onto the car, I first need to push this part of the brake system back in. Now, in the video I watched online, they had a massive pair of grips, which I don't have. However, I do have these quick grips, which are mainly used for like woodwork. However, they work absolutely perfectly. Let me show you how. There we go. And I found it was better as well if I could get a more even pressure by having multiple, and then by squeezing both a little bit at a time, I noticed it was enough to get it to go back, and then that's rock solid. So that's the end, and then you take them off, and then that's in. See how it's in all the way now? So using my DIY hack, I was now ready to put the pads into the brake calipers. So I got some Brembo brake pads as well, so they'll provide a bit more performance and hopefully do the job I need if I do take it on track. All that's left to do is grease them up and slot them in. Over the top, and that's why we need it pushed in, because then this can go around it fully. Onto here and here. Also, it was quite nice that in the Brembo kit it came with some new bolts to fit the caliper housing back on. Let's get it all put back together, get the wheels on, get the calipers washed, and get this car back on the ground. Now, it's actually the next day now, and I want you to just ignore my really bad, horrible wheels that are in desperate need of a refurb and just focus on the shiny red caliper and the shiny new brake disc. Doesn't it look amazing? Now the car's back on the ground, I can finish servicing it, and then I have two more things I need to do to get this car a little bit more ready. So let's get the new spark plugs fitted and the oil topped up. Now, I'm definitely no mechanic, but when I took out spark plugs 1 and 4, I did notice what looked a little bit like oil on the spark plug. If you think this looks like oil or you think there's something wrong, please let me know down in the comments and I will have to get this solved, because yeah, I think there could potentially be a problem here. Regardless, we're going to get the new spark plugs in and get the rest of this finished off. With the oil topped up and the spark plugs in, now comes the moment of truth. If I turn it on, it should start perfectly and the oil can then circulate through the engine. With the car now running smooth, I'm on to the next thing on the list. And if you're wondering what it is, I guess you better watch and find out. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, why has he got his car mats on his kitchen floor? But that's because I've bought these, and these should hopefully solve the problem of this mat sliding around too much. So we actually get loads in here. A double-sided sticky kind of Velcro material. See how it's Velcroed like that? If I stick it to the back of the mat here and then stick it to the carpet in the car, I can still take the mat in and out nice and easy just because it's Velcro, but I can also make sure that it stays in place and doesn't get trapped over or under the accelerator pedal or brake pedals and cause a real problem. These clip holes here, now the reason I'm not using the clip holes is simply because on my Fiesta it's very old and aged, and so the bits where these clips go into are just really worn away and so won't actually hold up very well. So it's better if we just put these on instead. And these literally cost a few pennies. So I think this is actually a great solution. And someone mentioned to do this in one of the comments on my previous video. So whoever that was, a massive thank you. This is a great idea. Velcro these on. Get it. And just like that, the floor mat is now secured down and won't cause me any more issues. And so that brings me on to the final item on the list. Now, one of the things I need to make sure I have done to the Fiesta is I need to have a towing point. So if I do unfortunately crash out or if the car breaks down, they can pull this heap of junk off of the track. Now, thankfully on the back of the car, I already have the tow eye hook exposed, so that is fine. However, if we come around to the front of the car, I have a slight issue. So this is the tow eye hook that comes with the car. The only issue is with the grille that I fitted to this car, this chunky thing isn't going to fit through that grille. As you can see, there's no way that thick thing is fitting through the grille. So I'm either going to need to get a new one that will fit through, although these gaps are tiny. If anyone can think of a good option to get a tow eye fitted that gives me easy access, please let me know down in the comments. Now, there are still a few bits that I need to sort out with like the rear suspension, and obviously I still need to sort out that towing hook on the front of the car. If you have any ideas of what I should do to the car before I take it onto a racetrack, please let me know down in the comments. But that is it for this video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss when I do eventually get this thing onto a track.